Warning, this video contains spoilers from patch 2.0.
Hi.
Ooh, what are they gonna show here?
That didn't take long.
Now, it took me just under 4 hours to complete this story, which is a close call when compared to the total average playtime of the walkthroughs in YouTube. And this includes actual gameplay time in addition to reading the story. Speaking of which, let's summarize it.
So what happened?
The MC's teacher has been revealed. Apparently, she's quite hot. And she's naturally a big deal for the siblings, as you may remember from chapter 5 in season 1. The photo was shared by the mayor, offering a commission to the protagonist regarding abnormal readings in another one of the 6 great hollows called the Lemnian Hollow, and the area closest to that is the Waife Peninsula. This region is the production center of porcelain, a material to block ether. Due to the abnormality in the hollow, production has slowed, and therefore, the mayor requested assistance from Phaethon to investigate the issue. Their main goal, however, is to find out more about the photo of their teacher, since it was taken inside the hollow as told by the mayor. The MC then gets picked up by Yixuan, the high preceptor of the Yunque summit. They call her Shifu. You might too. I call her mummy. I call her tilth. I call her wife. Anyway, the Yunque Summit is basically a faction of martial artists that trains with the manipulation of ether, and they will head this investigation along with the protagonists. The MC then gets a wardrobe expansion as a disciple of the summit, and they departed, while the other sibling remained behind for now to do some HDD tuning. On the way to the hollow, their transport was shot down by Sarah, causing the duo to be temporarily separated before reuniting and then hitchhiking a ship to the town in the region called the Phalium Heights. After arriving, the duo met up with Ju Fufu, who is one of the senior disciples of the summit. She showed the MC around the area before going to the temple, while Yixuan headed back there immediately. Ju Fufu and the protagonist then returned to the temple where the rest of the summit introduced themselves. Soon afterwards, they all encountered Damien Blackwood, head of the Porcelumex company, who notified them to not interrupt porcelain production. However, it was found out there was a corruption incident recently involving Porcelumex, which could be related to the abnormal readings in the hollow. The summit then proceeded to investigate, starting with questioning the workers involved, learned that the anti-corruption medicine given by Porcelumex were the cause of the incident, and got introduced to Dr. Lore, who was treating the workers with more affordable medicine to counter the corruption, called Alleviating Water. He claimed that the company was responsible for the incident and they were deliberately exploiting the workers and neglecting their health. The summit collected evidence to support this before finding out the truth from Damien himself. Apparently, Dr. Law didn't have a medical license, was fabricating lies to discredit Porcelumex, and influencing the workers to protest against it. They then found out that the Alleviating Water contained miasma, an ether substance that basically corrupts the mind. After deciding to stop the doctor, the summit encountered sick workers in the hollow that was basically promised treatment by him. Turns out he is a member of the Exaltus, a fanatical cult that basically wishes to make humanity embrace ether corruption, turning humans into ethereals willingly. The doctor managed to escape and the summit withdrew back to the temple. Shortly afterwards, the whole of Phalium Heights got hit with corruption, but was eventually purified by Yixuan, where she basically absorbed the ether into her boobs. Oh, no wonder they're big. Overcome with extreme fatigue, Yixuan had to rest while the others tracked down the doctor to a success, but he got off-screened. What the fuck? Shifu then managed to recover and they all headed back into the hollow in order to rescue the remaining workers who were still in denial about Dr. Lore's scheme. The group encountered the leader of the Exaltus, called Overseer Mevarach, or Mivorach. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and they beat his ass. Is it a he or a she? Like, as I played through with JP voiceovers, Mevarach sounded like a she, but in the wiki it's a he. I'm confused. Anyway, 3 scenes later, it appears that he was still alive, he brought a hot chick with him, and the chapter ends. By the way, it is without a doubt that this babe is Yixuan's older sister, who was the previous High Preceptor, as shown in this panel here. You can see the resemblance. Turns out that Mevarach was aiming for Yixuan's memory of her, which evidently happened during her shonen moment in the climax boss fight. Now, there's nothing too exciting yet, but that is to be expected, given that this is only the beginning of Season 2, seeing that the devs are using this seasonal story structure. Regardless, there are flaws that should have been handled better in this chapter, so let's explore them first.
That could have gone better.
One flaw includes the tutorial part in this new region. To be honest, I don't really have a problem with most of them, but the one that wasted my time was the restoring temple part. It didn't contribute anything to the plot, and I was wondering why was this included in the main story. If they removed this part and introduced it later, like after the chapter, it would have little to no effect on the plot. Next, the choice of the boss fight in this chapter was not good. We had to fight Maverick already, who is the leader of the cult, but there was not much build up to fight him as the antagonist of this patch's story. And what's worse is that after you beat him, it doesn't feel satisfactory. I don't know if this was supposed to be a death scene, but his quote-unquote death here was just dull, relatively speaking. And he's already back alive 3 scenes later. You know who would have been a much better antagonist for you? You already had him. You built him up. It was the damn doctor. This guy had been manipulating the people, directly got his hands dirty, had good enough of a build-up to be hated, and what did the devs do with him? Just off-screen him. Oh my god, why? Let me f*** up the bastard. Let me beat his ass. That's what would give us the satisfaction from a writing standpoint. If you're not gonna let us fight the main antagonist of this chapter, Hoyo, at least give his death a cutscene, show him transform into the miasma or something, or turn him into a boss ethereal. At least that way we get to fight him. I mean, I get that Maverick being the boss fight here was just so that he could extract Yi Jiang from Yi Xian's memory, but I still don't believe that's the suitable choice. How I could see this boss fight is like this. We take on the Doctor, who's been transformed into an ethereal boss. Maverick supports him from behind the scenes discreetly while trying to obtain Yi Xuan's memories. Yi Xuan will still have to undergo her shonen moment, and after the Doc dies, Maverick reveals himself and then leaves in a badass or dramatic exit. But what did the Doctor deserve? Just 2 black screens with white text. And this brings us to the technical flaws from now on. Look, I don't mind these black screens overall, but I do mind them when they're used at parts of crucial storytelling. One example is Yi Xuan training the protagonist to adjust her meridians or whatever in order to manipulate ether. What the hell is this? Is Zenless Zone Zero becoming like Honkai Star Rail in terms of story already? Look, it's nice that they showed us how and when to use our powers manipulating the ether, but please also show how we got it as well. If you tell the protagonist's growth this lazily, it doesn't feel like they deserved it. You could say that the main characters are geniuses or talented, to which I would reply with Albert Einstein's quote. I'm not saying that Bell or Wise didn't put in the effort. I'm saying that the effort should have been shown. You could replace the whole temple restoration part with more screen time to train our MCs, and that could have made the story better. Now for the other technical parts, starting with the not so important ones, there's a typo error here where it should have been hour, not out. Next is the NPC Reed's animation here during the corruption crisis. It's just funny to me that the whole town's dying, and then Reed's just like, we're having an amazing sale tonight, would you like to peruse our inventory, madam? It didn't completely break off the immersion at that moment, but I just grinned when I wasn't supposed to. Another flaw is the dialogue options here. Some choices feel different, but more often than not, there's quite a lot of these options that don't matter, because both lines will be included in what you will say. So, what was the point of having 2 options? This problem is legit this picture.
It's the illusion of free will.
And if I recall correctly, this thing has been quite normal in ZZZ's storytelling, but that does not make it not an issue. Make my choices matter, please. I know it's a linear story, but at least make the line that I've chosen to be different or something. If you can't do that, then just put one option. It's easier for you in this case. Lastly, the voiceovers during the overworld. Like the moment you get to walk around and there's dialogue playing together. Some of these scenes were too long and some of them were being repeated. Like the same lines being said again. I'm someone that would stop moving in the overworld in order to listen to the voiceovers, and in my experience, I had this one scene where I was listening to 2 lines. One was Jufufu's and the other was Bell's, if I recall correctly. And then I got into a fight with some ethereals, and then the same 2 lines were being repeated after the fight was over. I don't have proof of this since I didn't record my gameplay, so it's just from my memory. Believe me or not, it's what I remember. And by the way, Jufufu was sometimes annoying in this patch. From what I recall, there's one line of hers in the overworld saying that miasma is bad or something and that we shouldn't go near or touch it. And I'm like, no
shit!
Yeah, we know how dangerous it is. You don't need to point out the obvious. Now, that's all the bad stuff. Let's get into the good parts.
Here's the good news.
Firstly, I appreciate that they included a Cantonese voiceover scene here. Even though it's just a short scene, it triggered the contribution to the world building and immersion. Now, I myself don't speak Cantonese, but I have several friends who understand it, and they told me that it was bad.
係啊，多謝你肯幫就再冇得一情。
你哋係咪想要為飛地啊？當然冇永遠地呢第一成啦。
唔使，逢我哋喺入面就得啦。會有人嚟接我哋嘅，努力費心。
I trust their judgment, but still, I will give credit to the voice actors for their efforts here. That being said, they could have used voices from the VAs that actually speak Cantonese and dub it just for this scene. I myself don't mind if the voices change for a few lines of dialogue. Another good part is how the flashbacks were handled. The example for this point is naturally during the boss fight, but also another moment at the beginning of the chapter. The scene before Yixuan goes to pick up Phaethon. Just bits and pieces of it, alternating with the current flow of events. I was happy they did it this way because the last time I was exposed to a flashback scene in the game that also has a whole video of it in YouTube was in HSR. If I recall correctly, they added the whole anime short there, which felt forceful. Like, it looked as if the devs were practically begging you to pull for this character with a tragic background. How could you not pull for her? You monster! Next, the introduction of the Yunkai Summit as a whole. All of them tried to save a cat without hesitation. Just one short scene could already tell you their personality and what they stand for. To help when there's trouble. Plus, Jufufu's face here was adorable. After that, the pacing of the story, aside from the temple restoration, was actually quite nice. The alternating between reading the story and actually playing the game was fairly balanced. And as I've mentioned, it was just nice that we got to use our powers manipulating the ether in the overworld. Now for the other stuff like the animated poses, the facial expressions, and the animation cutscenes, the quality hasn't changed. It's the usual Zenless Zone Zero, which means they're still great. The poses and expressions are way better than HSR, that I can assure you. Lastly, I want to give some honorable mentions to the NPCs here. For example, Damien coming through in the end, even though he rubbed us the wrong way in the beginning. Eric trying his best to warn his fellow co-workers and other people after learning the truth. And yeah, that buff guy, Komano Manato. As of recording, I'm not yet certain whether he's playable, but I would think so because his design is too detailed to be an NPC. Standing up for his friends, taking care of them and their relatives, and even help the MC with a photo of their teacher. In my opinion, this guy's the MVP of the side characters in this chapter. Totally. And yeah, that's basically the good and bad parts of the story. Now I would like to share a bit of my opinions on the patch itself.
Nice.
Overall, quite a good patch. Worthy of an anniversary, I would say. Of course, who wouldn't appreciate the free S rank and Wenjin selectors? Happy to get my Rina to M1 and got the sig for Koleda so that she could perform better in my Evelyn team. Yes, I use Koleda, not Lighter, because Lighter is a dude and I'm never pulling for a limited dude as I've mentioned in my HSR video. Hell, I don't even like dudes in a gacha and I will never pull for a male character even if he has the best animations in the game and or the best kit. I wouldn't even care if the dude has a global passive that will insta-kill enemies. He's still not going to my account. We also got some extra fan service from the NPC here. I'll admit, I hate Twin Tails, but I have to say, those proportions are outstanding. Mecha events was fun, but maybe because I'm biased towards mecha, as you can see from my figure back there. In addition, the story in that particular event was surprisingly enjoyable. It was a very simple story, but that doesn't make it not a fun read. And at the end part, it was quite emotional and wholesome. The movie event, I'm indifferent to, but I do appreciate the fact that they brought in older playable characters to maintain their relevancy in the game from a lore standpoint. My personal favorite for this part is Astra's. Her Japanese voice acting scared during the movie was adorable. To add to that, they also included the supporting NPCs here as well. Bruh, they also put in the sibling as part of the event here. And if you noticed, we have fucking Venus. This character's inclusion here made the patch a lot better. Those that skip the story may not understand this, but for those that are up to date overall, we know that Venus is the best supporting character ever since the game started. She is objectively best girl due to how much she has helped us throughout this journey. The real backbone behind Phaeton's growth. And her moments in this event, oh, it was so good. She even gave us a bracelet of her own making from which she got injured making it. Damn, that bracelet moment was just so touching. And if I were to grade this anniversary patch as a whole, excluding the main story, initially I would give it an 8, but Venus's inclusion here would bring it up to a 9. Yes, she's left that much of an impact on me, despite having no relevance in the main story whatsoever. I am grateful the devs acknowledged her worth. Oh, and by the way, the relevance of older playable characters also applies to the mecha event. We got to see Anton, Ben, Grace, and hell, even my boy Billy is here. Next is Yishan, of course. Can never complain when we get a smoking hot babe in our account. She can cleanse my meridians all night long. I can cleanse her sexual frustrations. That being said, there are some drawbacks in this patch. 2 in fact. One subjective, the other's objective. The subjective one, and you'd be surprised by this, involves Yishuan's paid skin. What the Personally speaking, I believe that a skin should reveal more skin, not cover them up. Therefore, I think that her skin is just mid. Like this part here. Let me see the armpit. Fuck you, Hoyo. God, and it's such a good pose to show it too. I bought Astra's skin for this particular reason, as you can see the difference here. Hey, if you like Yishan's skin, all power to you. Feel free to buy it. I, on the other hand, am not gonna pay for censorship. It's just a wasted opportunity, I'd say. Now, the objective part is that fancy banner animation that pops up the first time you log into the anniversary patch. They did that with Cassius' banner in Honkai Star Rail, and oh my god, it's a simple thing. But it just obviously shows that they really want you to pull for this character. This is coming from someone who loves Yishan a lot, okay? I pushed up to her M2 plus signature Wenjin as an Internaut member since day 1, whereas all my other limited S ranks are all M0. Oh, and speaking of which, one other drawback. I lost my first 50-50. Could have gotten the M2 faster. 50-50 is a cancer.
Let's finish this.
To conclude, solid patch overall, good anniversary, but the storytelling was lacking a bit. Story itself, however, is decent, and that is to be expected since, as I've mentioned, this is only the beginning of season 2. Think of it like an anime series, or any series in general. The early moments of the seasons are just the build-up parts. All in all, I'd give the chapter here a 7, to be honest. As for the whole patch, good job altogether. Continue the momentum, Hoyo. Please improve the storytelling, and yeah, that's all from me. Hope you guys can like and subscribe. By the way, Yishan's jiggle physics. Oh my god. Holy f***!